Morning, all. So I'm doing what I've been doing so far in the play-in slash round robin, which is I'm gonna have to do the previews in the morning the day before. And today it's awkward. Today it's awkward because there's back-to-backs. We haven't seen back-to-backs in the playoffs since the 80s, and they used to be commonplace. They weren't a big deal, but with so many fans right now that have never experienced it, well, you're in for a treat. I'm gonna be honest. The intensity in the back to backs is pretty fantastic. Now, part of the problem with that is that I'm doing the preview now, so we're not going to know how these series are set until late. And because the Winnipeg Calgary game tonight is so late, there's no point in me doing the preview after that game's done. Not to mention that pushes my whole day way later. I've been doing my treadmill at 11 o'clock at night as it is. So, yeah, let's just jump in now. Preamble done. Florida in against the New York Islanders. The Islanders, of course, up 1-0. And this is the second game for them. Well, a couple other teams are playing games 3 tomorrow. And, Florida needs to bounce back. It's really quite simple, actually. They need Bobrovsky to continue to be Bobrovsky. I thought he was fine in game 1. I didn't think it was his fault. And they need the offense. They need to be able to break through that Islanders defense. They can't be put to sleep by what the Islanders are doing, which is what happened in game 1. The Islanders played their game to perfection in game 1. So that one starts at 9 a.m. Pacific, which is noon Eastern, and that's going to be quite the game. I'm saying right now, I think that Florida has to come out early and get that first goal. That first goal was key. I'm pretty sure all 8 games were won by the team that scored first, minus the Edmonton game. That's the only one I'm thinking of where it's like, okay, first goal, I can remember, went to the team that actually ended up losing that game. And that was just weird. That was like a Twilight Zone episode the whole way through. So Florida needs to score first. They need to show that they can hang with the defensive game played by the Islanders. And one thing we've learned is that it's playoff intensity right out of the gate. I've seen comments about how these games aren't that intense. I think they are. And I think the players will tell you how intense they are. And for players who are already injured coming out of the first game, they'll tell you how intense these games are. So, for the Islanders, if they can win tomorrow morning, that's pretty much going to be it for Florida. I hate to put it that way, but going down 2-0 in a 5-game series, it's basically done. Next up, Arizona in against the Nashville Predators, and this one I got to say was a bit of a surprise. This one starts at 11:30 a.m. Pacific tomorrow, and yeah, Nashville being down 1-0 is a surprise. I'm wearing a Nashville jersey. I think the bounce back is going to be there. I think they outplayed Arizona late in that game. I think the comeback was there, and I think they're the better team between the two. But for Arizona, they need to just, dig in defensively. They need another good game from Phil Kessel. It was pretty good in the first game. And just Kemper to be Kemper. So this is really a simple formula for Arizona. They're going to need to trap things a little bit. And they're going to need to frustrate Nashville. And do their best to make sure that this series goes 2-0. And then they get last change in Game 3 in their series. Because that's really the only difference. We've also seen that, like, home ice advantage, it's not really an advantage. Road team won, road team won, road team won. It's really not an advantage. So we're definitely looking at a lot more parity, and I think that's helped by the break. When you look at the playoffs from last year, a lot of top seeds ended up going out early. So for all we know, that if we had played through the playoffs in a regular manner and we had the regular 16-team tournament, we would have seen just as many upsets. It's quite possible. So yeah, Arizona's going to try to remain relevant to the conversation and prove that, hey, we are here to stay tomorrow. Next up is Columbus and Toronto. So Columbus played the perfect road game last night. And it was something to watch Columbus do it. And then their expansion brethren in Minnesota did the exact same thing. So Columbus, coming off that 3-0 win, just keep doing what you're doing. Choke up the middle. Korpisalo needs to stand on his head a little bit. Give Matthews nothing. Push Nylander around. Keep Tavares to the outside. And don't let Marner get a shot. That's basically it. And I think with Toronto, and I've said this before, I think with Toronto, I think the focus being on the skill over the physical side of it means that when you get to the playoff games where it's a lot tougher and it's a very physical, like last night where it's the middle's completely choked off, your puck control, let's just say that the Leafs had the puck 60% of the time, just as an example. If there's nothing down the middle and you're not able to get anything past the perimeter, the puck control doesn't do anything for you there. It just means you have the puck while they kill the clock, which is how things turn out with Columbus sometimes. That game's at 1 p.m. Pacific, which is 4 o'clock Eastern. I will be interested to see how these start times affect teams, where you have the different start times. The Rangers-Carolina, for instance, that I'm watching now, it's after the first period. That one, we've seen the start time remain the same, where it's the same start time for Game 1 and for Game 2. We'll see with these ones that the start time moves around, how that affects teams, players, if it affects them at all. And for people who've been curious, yeah, there have been players, GMs, management types who've been watching other games while they're going on in the building. They'll actually come in and watch. And the announcers even said this might be the first time some of these guys have gone in to watch a hockey game in person since their junior days. So we'll see how Columbus does against Toronto. But again, just choke down the middle. And if you're Toronto, you have to fight your way through that. And you have to be able to employ that style a little bit yourself. You have to watch Cam Atkinson. The guy can score goals. And you have to find a way to get Pierre-Luc Dubois' beast mode turned off. Because Dubois had a very good game 1. All right, next up, Calgary. The Flames and the Jets play tonight. And then they play tomorrow at 3:45 Pacific time. And this is key. If Calgary wins tonight, they should win tomorrow. If the Flames win tonight, they should win tomorrow, because that'll be a 2-0 series lead, and there's not much turnaround between the games. And with Winnipeg, we know Scheifele's not going to play. Apparently, it may not be as severe as it looked at the time. All this Achilles talk, his Achilles wasn't cut. So we can just take all that talk and just, that's not what happened. But they're saying it's not his knee either. So we may not know exactly what it is until after Winnipeg's out of the playoffs, or until, the whole playoff thing is done. If Winnipeg wins the cup, I'm just throwing that out there. But it sounds like Laine, it may not be as severe as it is for Scheifele, but we'll find out. And that's key, because replacing one or the other is tough, but replacing both, man, good luck. I don't know how Winnipeg does this. So for the Flames, they may very well be looking to end it tomorrow. Winnipeg's time in Edmonton could be done in a matter of a few days. This is what I talked about before these series started. We're going to see some teams going home very, very quickly. The way this schedule is set up, it's pretty merciless. So we'll see how Winnipeg deals with it, and whether or not Calgary is going to be looking for the sweep tomorrow after tonight's game. Carolina and the Rangers, who are playing now, 5 p.m. Pacific tomorrow they play. So this is a back-to-back for them. Now, right now, I don't think I'm telling any tales to say right now the score is tied. So after the first period, the score is tied. And it's been a very good game. The Rangers look a heck of a lot better in this game so far than they looked in Game 1. This game looks like it is potentially going to go to the wire, maybe go to overtime, that kind of thing. So Game 3 is at 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern. It's a later start. We'll see if that helps, if that matters. Because again, it's back-to-back and it's playoff level. And if this game goes to overtime today, the schedule tomorrow doesn't care. So... and that's one of the reasons, too, why I'm doing these previews in the mornings, because we don't know what's going to go to overtime and how late games could go. So, I have my fingers crossed we're not going to see these really late overtimes, but we could. So, 5 o'clock Pacific, we will see whether or not Carolina potentially sweeps the Rangers, or the Rangers, should they win today, does that momentum carry over into tomorrow, and do they find a way to put Carolina down 2-1? Either way, this is a huge game. Game 5 is the big game usually in your best of 7. In best of 5, Game 3 is the big game. That's the big one. And so by moving that forward, the intensity level ramps up. And we'll see how it goes. And I will say Rangers and Carolina do not like each other. They don't. Next up, Minnesota and Vancouver. So last night's Minnesota-Vancouver review was heartfelt and it was honest. And I could understand people saying, well, Shannon's overreacting. But This was frustration I'd had towards the end of the regular season before the pause with Vancouver as well, where they had won before the game I went to where they beat the Islanders in a shootout. They had won 3 out of 9. And this was a team that just wasn't performing particularly well. And a lot of the same problems they were having towards the pause, they were having them again last night. And knowing that they've had weeks in training camp and they've had scrimmages and they've had all this coaching and all this, and to see them go on the ice, we're still having the same problem. And then some of the players that I like that I think benefit the lineup aren't in the lineup. And I understand there may be reasons why certain players aren't in the lineup. But when you look at the lineup that was out there last night, I just felt there weren't enough dynamic players who were making a difference. And Pettersson gets blanketed. So for Minnesota, the answer here is simple. Keep blanketing Pettersson. Keep frustrating the Canucks. Make them take stupid penalties. Key on Pearson a little bit. Clearly, they got under Pearson's skin in Game 1. Keep doing what you're doing. Stalock was dialed in. He was great. And for anybody who says, well, I didn't know Stalock was good, then you didn't watch Minnesota much this season. And I understand. Minnesota's totally an under-the-radar team, but they weren't that far behind Vancouver. And these teams were a lot closer in the standings than I think people gave them credit for before the series. This starts at 7:45 Pacific. Again, part of the reason why I do these previews early in the morning. Because this game's going to go late tomorrow night, which means I got to figure something out. Because my whole treadmill daily routine thing, which I'm not going to stop doing because then the internet lets me know. Looks like you stopped doing your treadmill there. So I'm not going to do that. But yeah, I'm going to have to figure out a way to move other things around and make that happen. But yeah, Vancouver, tomorrow's the night. If you're going to prove that this is going to be a series, they got to come out tomorrow. They have to score first. That's key. Hopefully early. Put Minnesota on their heels. Make them second guess themselves. And show that they can play the kind of defense that was played against them. And this is why the defensemen in Vancouver are paid big money. Is so that we can have that assurance that things will be better. And the one thing I will say is some players in Vancouver had such a bad game last night, they can't possibly have that bad of a game in Game 2. So, and Minnesota, everything kind of went perfect, and I don't know that can happen for 2 games in a row, but we'll see how things go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below and your picks, and I do apologize. I know this is going up before these games are final, way before this one's even played, but this one's not being played till later tonight. And I don't think you guys want me doing a preview for tomorrow's games at like midnight my time, 3 o'clock in the morning Eastern. It's not going to get any views anyways if I do it then. So, again, let me know your winners. If you want to delay until after the Winnipeg game, that's fine. But this video will be there waiting for you to do so at that time. Yeah, and hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for the 150,000 subscriber total. I will do my best not to let any of it go to my head. I really don't. I still talk like I'm talking to just friends of mine over a webcam. And one note I want to add with this one, of course, is that Ferland was fined $5,000 today for spearing, and Cunnin was fined $1,000 for grabbing his stick. It's NHL Department of Player Safety going, look, knock it off. If we see this again from you guys, you're going to lose a game. You're going to get suspended for a game. So, I know people online were not happy about that punishment, but I got it. I understood. I was like, yeah, no, that makes sense. Just fire a warning shot and just say, look, you guys do this again, you're going to get another call. We're not going to be happy to see you guys again. And then that's when things are going to turn ugly. But hey, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.